about the role of copyright in the age of AI. If you type in a prompt and an AI generates an image, who owns the copyright? The person who typed the prompt or the AI company that created the tool?
Ooh, that's a tricky one. It's like asking who owns a photograph, the person who pressed the shutter button or the camera manufacturer.
Exactly. And it gets even more complicated when you consider that these AI models are trained on millions of images created by human artists. Does that give those artists some kind of ownership claim over the AI-generated images?
It's a fascinating legal and philosophical question. Where does the line of authorship begin and end when you're dealing with AI?
Right. The U.S. Copyright Office has said that AI-generated art isn't eligible for copyright protection because it lacks human authorship. But the legal landscape is constantly evolving, and these issues will likely be debated in court for years to come.
It's clear that our current laws weren't written with AI in mind. We need to update our thinking about authorship and ownership in the digital age.
One of the designers, who goes by the name, yes, I'm a designer,
Hmm.
has a really strong opinion on this. He argues that using AI to create art, especially for commercial purposes, is unethical and compares it to downloading pirated music or movies.
Wow, he's not holding back. He's basically saying AI art is theft.
Yep. He feels very strongly that using AI art for profit is a direct threat to artists' livelihoods and a violation of their intellectual property rights.
I can understand why so many artists feel that way. They're worried that AI will devalue their skills and make it impossible to earn a living from their art.
And he raises another interesting point about the impact of AI on the development of artistic skills. If people can just type in a prompt and get a finished image, are they missing out on the learning process that comes from actually honing their craft through practice and experimentation?
It's a valid concern. Art is about the journey, the process of learning and growing as an artist, not just the end result.
He uses this really great analogy to illustrate his point. He compares using AI art to playing a video game, where you can choose to play the game and experience the whole journey, or just skip to the ending.
I love that analogy. It really captures the idea that the process of creation is just as important as the final product.
He argues that the real appreciation of art comes from understanding the process,
Hmm.
the artist's struggles and triumphs, their unique perspective. That's what gives art meaning and emotional depth, and that's something AI can't replicate.
It's the human element that makes art resonate with us.
Exactly. And he had a really interesting take on the whole "is AI art real art" debate.
I'm curious to hear his perspective on that. It's a question that's been sparking heated discussions everywhere.
He basically said that the real issue isn't whether AI can create art. It's about how AI is being used and the impact it's having on human artists. He believes that AI is a tool, and like any tool, it can be used for good or bad. It's up to us to decide how we want to use it.
It's a call for responsibility, for thinking about the consequences of our actions.
He also stressed the need for transparency and ethical practices within the AI industry. He believes that companies need to be upfront about how they're using artists' work and where their data comes from.
Transparency builds trust. It's essential for creating a healthy and sustainable relationship between the AI community and the art world.
He also believes we need new laws that specifically address the challenges of AI art. Current copyright laws just don't cut it. We need laws that protect artists' rights and intellectual property in this new digital landscape.
We need to adapt our legal systems to keep pace with the rapid advancements in AI.
And he had this really interesting prediction about the future of AI art.
Oh, I love predictions. What does he think will happen?
He believes that as AI models become more sophisticated and everyone has access to them, the novelty of AI-generated art will wear off and its value will plummet.
That makes sense. The initial excitement and hype around any new technology tend to fade over time.
He compares it to the early days of digital photography, when people thought that anyone with a digital camera could be a photographer. But as the technology became more common, the focus shifted back to the photographer's skills and vision, not just the tools they were using.
It's a good point. Technology can democratize creativity, but it doesn't replace the need for talent and artistic vision.
And he thinks the same thing will happen with AI art.
So, what does he see happening to human artists in the long run?
He's actually pretty optimistic. He believes that AI will force us to redefine what it means to be an artist, and that it will ultimately lead to a resurgence of human creativity.
Now, that's a twist I didn't see coming. How does he see that happening?
He thinks that as AI takes over the more mundane tasks, human artists will be free to explore new forms of expression and focus on the things that AI can't replicate: emotional depth, a unique perspective, that human touch that makes art truly special.
It's a vision of AI and human artists working together, each playing to their strengths and pushing the boundaries of creativity.
Exactly. But he also acknowledges that there will be some bumps along the way.
What kind of obstacles does he foresee?
He thinks the art world will need to figure out how to tell the difference between human-created art and AI-generated art, especially as AI gets more sophisticated. How do we know if a piece was created by a human or a machine? And how do we ensure that artists are getting credit for their work?
It's a question of authenticity and attribution. We need new ways to verify the origin and authorship of art in the digital age.
He thinks we'll need to develop new tools and technologies to authenticate art and trace its origins.
It's a technological challenge, but it's also a cultural one. We need to have a deeper conversation about the value of human creativity and find ways to support artists in this new landscape.
He also believes that the art market will have to adapt to this influx of AI art.
I'm curious to hear his thoughts on that. How does he see the art market being affected?
He predicts that the price of AI-generated art will drop significantly as it becomes more common. But he also thinks this will create new opportunities for artists who can offer something unique and irreplaceable, something that AI just can't replicate.
It's about finding your niche, your unique voice, and offering something that stands out in a crowded market.
He believes the artists who will thrive in this new world will be those who embrace AI as a tool, while staying true to their own artistic vision.
It's about adaptability, innovation, and a willingness to experiment.
And he had this really interesting thought about how AI could actually help us understand what it means to be human.
I'm always fascinated by that intersection of technology and philosophy. What was his take on that?
He pointed out that by seeing ourselves through the eyes of AI, which is essentially a reflection of our own data and biases, we can gain a new perspective on our own creativity, our limitations, and our potential.
It's like holding up a mirror to humanity, but the mirror is being held by a machine we created.
Exactly. He thinks this could lead to a deeper understanding of what makes us unique as creative beings, and a renewed appreciation for the beauty and complexity of human art.
It's a fascinating thought. Maybe AI can actually help us appreciate our own humanity even more.
He also believes that AI art can help us explore the boundaries between the real and the artificial, the human and the machine.
It's a blurring of lines that's already happening, and it's raising some really profound questions about what it means to create and experience art.
One of the artists, Sam Hamper, had a really interesting perspective on the criticism that AI art lacks a soul.
Oh, I'm curious to hear his take on that. It's a common critique of AI art.
He actually argued that AI, in its current form, might create a more authentic form of digital art because it's forced to work within limitations. He pointed out that human digital artists often rely too heavily on tools like undo and layers, which can actually stifle creativity.
It's like having a safety net that prevents you from taking risks and making mistakes.
Exactly. He believes that those safety nets can prevent us from discovering new possibilities, and that AI, by not having those crutches, is forced to be more creative in a way.
So the limitations of AI are actually a strength. That's an interesting way to look at it.
He thinks so. He says that AI art, with its glorious mistakes, is often more refreshing and surprising than human-created digital art, which can sometimes feel a bit too polished and predictable.
It's like the difference between a perfectly rehearsed speech and an off-the-cuff remark. Sometimes the imperfections are what make something truly memorable.
Right, and he used this great analogy to illustrate his point. He compared AI to a time traveler who has seen all of human history and can draw on that vast knowledge to create something new.
I love that. It's like AI is tapping into the collective consciousness of human creativity and remixing it in unexpected ways.
Exactly. And he argues that this isn't a threat to human creativity, but rather an opportunity for us to see ourselves and our art in a new light.
It's a chance to learn from AI and to push our own boundaries as artists.
He believes that this could lead to a whole new era of artistic expression, one that's informed by both human and artificial intelligence.
It's an exciting vision of the future, where technology and art work together to create something truly extraordinary.
And he also had a really interesting take on the whole AI art is stealing debate.
I'm all ears. It's a topic that's generating a lot of anxiety and anger.
He argued that this focus on stealing is missing the point. He believes that AI is simply accelerating a process that's been happening for centuries, the evolution of art through imitation and innovation.
He's saying that imitation is a natural part of the creative process, not a crime.
Exactly. He points out that artists have always learned from each other. copying styles, borrowing techniques,
Yeah.
and building on the work of those who came before them.
It's true. There's a long lineage of artists inspiring and influencing each other.
And he argues that AI is simply doing the same thing, just on a much larger and faster scale.
It's like AI is compressing centuries of artistic evolution into a few years.
Exactly. And he believes that instead of fearing AI, artists should embrace it as a tool for learning, experimenting, and pushing their own creative boundaries.
It's a call to adapt and evolve, to see AI not as a threat, but as a challenge, an opportunity to grow and explore new possibilities.
Yeah, he had a really interesting prediction about the future of art in a world where AI is everywhere.
I'm always up for a good prediction. What does he see happening to human art in a world saturated with AI-generated images?
He believes that AI will actually lead to a resurgence of interest in human-created art.
That's an interesting take. Why does he think that will happen?
He argues that as AI-generated art becomes more common, people will start to crave the authenticity, the emotional depth, and the unique perspective that only human artists can offer.
It's like how people are rediscovering the value of handmade goods and artisanal craftsmanship. In a world of mass production, we crave the human touch, the imperfections, the story behind the object.
Exactly. He thinks people will seek out art that has a story, art that connects with them on an emotional level, art that speaks to their humanity.
It's a vision of AI and human art coexisting, each serving different needs and appealing to different aspects of our nature.
And he believes this will lead to a greater appreciation for the value of human creativity and the irreplaceable role that artists play in our lives.
It's a hopeful vision, a reminder that even in the face of these technological disruptions, human creativity will find a way to adapt, evolve, and thrive.
One of the experts, Go, actually had a conversation with ChatGPT about the ethics of AI art.
Wow, that's a meta conversation. What did they talk about?